My dad's funeral was today, and there's people in the house, and that's all I can really say right now. Is that my dad's funeral is today, and there's people in the house, and all I want to do right now is just crawl up. I just want to go to bed. I can't right now because there's people in the house. I just want this day to be over. There's too many people in the house. I'm tired. A friend of mine invited me out to a club. I'm like, no, I don't know. Funerals and clubs don't really mix well to me. I don't know, maybe you guys like to go to clubs after funerals, but not my thing really. I just want these people to go home. Does that mean? Everybody thought that my ex-boyfriend was my husband, which annoyed the shit out of me because he came to the funeral. In the program, it says Titus Clark left behind wife, and then it says daughter and the son-in-law, but everybody assumed that Sep was my husband, which annoyed me because if he was my husband, don't you think he would be sitting next to me or at least in the row behind me? He was sitting like 5 rows behind me by himself. Why would he be sitting all the way back there if he was my husband? And don't you think he would have been in the limo with me instead of 5 cars behind following to the graveside? It just kind of annoyed me. I can understand if we were holding hands or hugging or something, but he came to the place in his own car. He was sitting way far away from me. I don't understand why anyone would think that some random guy was my husband. There's plenty of people there. That kind of annoyed me. I don't know. I just hate it when people make assumptions that don't even make sense. I didn't really cry as much as I thought I would at the funeral. I assumed that I would just be bawling. Oh, I gotta tell you this story. There's this woman that's one of my mother's best friends. She's like a sister. So I call her Aunt Sonia. She is so funny. We were there for the viewing, and the viewing's 2 hours. And after a while, you're just like, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. And I came out to talk with her in this little lounge room that's in the funeral home. And suddenly she says, I feel like having White Castle. I want to get some White Castle. And I'm just looking at her like, okay. So I started talking about something. She's like, you want White Castle? I'm going to go get it. I'm going to get some White Castle. And I'm just thinking, is this lady seriously wanting to get White Castle in the middle of my dad's funeral? And she's like, she says, yeah, I'm going to go get it. It's right up the street. Nobody has to know. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to get 2 sacks of White Castle burgers. And I'm just looking, oh my gosh, she's getting 2 sacks of White Castles. Yes, I know they're called White Castle and not White Castle burgers. I know. It's just the way I said it. But she's like, I'm going to get 2 sacks of White Castles. So she leaves the funeral home, and I'm thinking she can't be serious. So she leaves. I go back in for a while, and then I go out to outside to get some air. My brother's outside smoking a cigarette, and next thing you know, she pulls up in her Cadillac. You would have thought she just did a drive-by because she's like, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car. So she's like, I got 2 sacks of White Castle. She's holding the 2 sacks, and she's like, get in the car. So we're like, okay. So me and my brother, we jump in the car. We're like scarfing down these burgers. And before we got into the car, there was this lady outside. I guess she was also smoking a cigarette with my with my brother, and my brother was like, "This is ghetto, isn't it?" And she's like, "No, it's not ghetto. It's needed. Sometimes you need food." So we had jumped in the car, we scuffed down the burgers. The funny part about it was she was. You would have thought that we had drugs in the car, like the White Castles were drugs, because she was circling the parking lot like we were hiding out, like she couldn't just park. It was and I'm thinking my father would love this story. Like if he knew that in the middle of his funeral, one of my mother's best friends goes and smuggles White Castles. I was like, this is ridiculous. So then she like chews gum so my mom can't smell the you know, if any of you have had White Castle, you know it has a smell that kind of lingers. We get in there and they're starting to take down stuff, and all of a sudden this wave of panic went over me because hey, I'm sorry I had to move because it's seriously bothering me that you guys can't see my hand gestures. So they're taking stuff down, and this wave of panic just goes over me because they're starting to close the casket, and I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you doing? Because it was just like, even though my dad already passed away, it was just this feeling that he's really gone. It's a hard, like they were taking him away from me, and it was just this panicked feeling like, why are you closing the casket, don't close the casket. And it was just like I wanted to stop them. And so that was one wave of emotion. I didn't really cry, I just felt really panicked. I really didn't want them to close the casket. The other time I got emotional was when the casket was being lowered into the ground, because it was like, you're taking my dad. And it was another wave of panic, but I actually started crying. Then I had to actually squat down. I was wearing slacks, and I had to squat down because it was just like I felt like if I didn't squat down, I was gonna jump onto the casket. Like, see, now I never understood why people got so hysterical at funerals, and I never understood why people took pictures of their loved ones in the casket. I was like, that is the creepiest thing. Why would you take pictures? Now I understand why, because this is the first time in my life that I've ever had someone so close to me die. I've been to plenty of funerals, but this is the first time it's been so close to me. So now I understand, because it's like, that person, is taken from your life, and you're trying to hold on to each and every last moment. So you're taking pictures in the casket. You don't want the casket to close because then you can't see them anymore. And you don't want the casket to get lowered in the ground. Oh my gosh. It was just unreal. It was unreal. I felt like I was in a movie. I really did. Let's stop this for now.